Cowboy took in Orphan girl. Her locket carried his wife's name. The desert did not forgive. It took everything it touched and turned it to bone, to dust, to silence. Cole had learned that long ago. He had buried enough beneath its surface to know. He rode through the heat with his hat low and his heart lower. The sun pressed down like a hand on his back. His horse moved slow, tired from days of travel. Cole did not hurry it. There was nowhere he needed to be. There had not been anywhere for a long time. Then he saw the smoke. It rose thin and gray against the white sky, twisting up from somewhere beyond the ridge. Cole pulled the reins and stopped. He watched the smoke for a long time. It was old smoke. The fire that made it had already died. He should have kept riding. But something in him, something he thought had gone quiet years ago, made him turn the horse toward it. The wagon came into view slowly. It sat crooked on the flat earth, its wheels half buried in sand. The wood was black and split. The canvas cover had burned away to nothing. Whatever had been inside was ash now. Cole dismounted and walked closer. The air smelled like char and old blood. He had smelled it before. Too many times. He circled the wagon, looking for bodies. There were none. Maybe they had been taken. Maybe they had walked away and died somewhere else. The desert did not leave much behind to tell the story. He was about to leave when he saw her. She stood a few feet from the wagon, small and still as a stone. A little girl, maybe 5 years old, maybe 6. Her dress was torn and stained with soot. Her hair hung loose and tangled around her face. She did not move. She did not make a sound. Cole froze. For a moment, he thought she might be a ghost. The desert played tricks sometimes. Heat and grief could make a man see things that were not there. But then she blinked. Cole took a step forward. The girl did not run. She did not even look at him. Her eyes were fixed on the ground. Her hands were closed tight around something at her chest. "Hey," Cole said softly. His voice felt rough in his throat. He had not spoken to anyone in days. The girl did not answer. He crouched down slow, keeping his distance. "You hurt?" "Nothing." "Where's your folks?" Still nothing. Cole looked back at the wagon. He looked at the girl again. She was alone. That much was clear. Alone in a way that went deeper than just being lost. He stood and walked to his horse. He pulled his canteen from the saddle and came back. He held it out to her. "You need water," he said. The girl's eyes moved. Just a little. She looked at the canteen, but did not reach for it. Cole set it down in the dirt between them. Then he stepped back. "It's yours if you want it," he said. He waited. The sun burned. The wind moved the dust in slow circles. The girl stood like a shadow, like something the world had already forgotten. Finally, she knelt. Her small hands opened, and she took the canteen. She drank slowly, her eyes never leaving the ground. Cole watched her. He felt something twist inside his chest, something old and buried. When she finished drinking, she set the canteen down and stood again. Her hands went back to her chest, holding whatever it was she carried there. "What's your name?" Cole asked. The girl said nothing. "You got people? Anyone I can take you to?" Silence. Cole exhaled through his nose. He looked out at the flat, empty land around them. There was no town for miles. No ranch. No shelter. Just heat and dust and the bones of things that used to be. He could leave her. He should leave her. But he thought of the wagon. He thought of the smoke. He thought of how small she was, standing there in the middle of nothing with her hands closed tight around something she would not let go. "All right," he said quietly. "Come on, then." He walked to his horse and climbed into the saddle. He did not look back to see if she would follow. He did not want to know if she wouldn't. But after a moment, he heard the soft sound of footsteps in the sand. The girl came to the side of the horse. She looked up at him with wide, empty eyes. Cole reached down. "Give me your hand." She hesitated. Then, slowly, she lifted one small hand toward him. Cole took it, careful like holding something broken, and pulled her up onto the saddle in front of him. She weighed almost nothing. They rode in silence. The girl sat stiff and still against his chest. She did not speak. She did not cry. She only held tight to whatever it was in her hands. Cole did not ask again. The sun began to sink. The sky turned red, then purple, then black. Stars came out like scattered salt. Cole made camp near a low ridge where the wind was not so strong. He built a small fire and set out his bedroll. The girl sat near the fire, but not close. She watched the flames with empty eyes. Cole opened his saddlebag and pulled out a piece of dried meat. He tore it in half and held one piece out to her. "Eat," he said. She did not move. He set the meat down beside her and ate his own share in silence. The fire cracked softly. The night was cold. After a while, the girl reached for the meat. She ate it slowly, like she had forgotten how. Cole leaned back against his saddle and watched her. In the firelight, he could see her hands more clearly now. They were still closed around something at her chest. A locket, silver, small, hanging from a thin chain around her neck. Cole's jaw tightened. He looked away, but the locket stayed in his mind. When the girl finally fell asleep, curled up near the fire with her hands still holding the locket, Cole stood and walked to the edge of the camp. He stared out into the dark. He told himself it did not matter. He told himself he would take her to the next town and leave her with someone who could care for her, someone better than him. But something would not let him rest. He walked back to the fire. The girl was asleep, her breathing soft and steady. The locket lay against her chest, catching the light. Cole knelt beside her. Slowly, carefully, he reached out and turned the locket over in her small hand. There was an engraving on the back. He leaned closer to see it in the firelight, and his heart stopped. The name carved into the silver was one he had not seen in 7 years, one he had tried to bury along with everything else. Eleanor, his wife's name. Cole pulled his hand back like the locket had burned him. He stood quickly, breathing hard. He stared down at the sleeping girl, at the locket resting against her chest, at the name that should not have been there. He did not understand. He did not want to understand. But now he could not leave her. Not until he knew why a little girl in the middle of nowhere carried the name of a woman who had been dead for 7 years. The cabin sat in the shadow of the hills like something forgotten. Cole had not been back in over a year. Maybe longer. Time had a way of slipping past him now, unmarked and unnoticed. He had told himself he would never come back. But now, with the girl sitting quiet in front of him on the saddle, he had nowhere else to go. The ride had taken 3 days. They had traveled through dry valleys and over rocky passes where the wind cut cold and sharp. The girl had not spoken once. She ate when he gave her food. She drank when he offered water. But she did not look at him. She did not ask questions. She only held the locket. Cole did not ask about it. He did not want to know. Not yet. When the cabin finally came into view, Cole felt something tighten in his chest. The roof was still there. The walls still stood. But the place looked smaller than he remembered. Lonelier. He dismounted and helped the girl down. She stood beside the horse, staring at the cabin with those wide, empty eyes. "This is it," Cole said quietly. "It's not much, but it'll keep the wind off." The girl said nothing. Cole tied the horse to a post and walked to the door. The wood was swollen from rain and time. He had to push hard to open it. The hinges groaned. Inside, the air was cold and thick with dust. Everything was exactly as he had left it. The table, the chair, the bed in the corner, the shelf where Eleanor used to keep her things. Cole stood in the doorway for a long time. He could still see her moving through the room, stirring a pot at the stove, folding blankets by the fire, humming a song he could no longer remember the words to. But she was not there. She had not been there for 7 years. The girl stepped past him into the cabin. She looked around slowly, taking in the dim light and the stillness. Then she walked to the corner and sat down on the floor with her back against the wall. Cole watched her. She looked so small in the empty room. He cleared his throat. "I'll get a fire going," he said. He set to work. He gathered wood from the pile outside and stacked it in the old stone fireplace. His hands moved without thinking. He had done this 1,000 times before, back when the cabin had felt like a home. The fire caught slowly. The flames grew and spread warmth into the room. The girl watched from her corner, her hands still holding the locket. Cole brought in his bedroll and set it near the fire. Then he pulled the single blanket from the bed and brought it to the girl. He held it out. "You'll need this," he said. She looked at the blanket, but did not reach for it. Cole set it down beside her. "It's yours." He turned and went back to the fire. He sat down on the floor and stared into the flames. The silence filled the room like water. After a while, he heard the soft rustle of fabric. He glanced over. The girl had pulled the blanket around her shoulders. She was still watching him. Their eyes met for just a moment. Then she looked away. The days passed slowly. Cole fell into old rhythms without meaning to. He woke early and checked the horses. He fetched water from the creek. He hunted small game in the hills and cooked it over the fire. The girl followed him sometimes, silent as a shadow. He did not mind. At first, he had thought she would be a burden, another weight to carry. But she was not. She moved quiet through the cabin. She did not ask for things. She did not complain. She only watched. One morning, Cole was feeding the horses when he felt her standing behind him. He turned. The girl was there, her hands folded in front of her, her eyes on the horse. "You want to help?" Cole asked. She did not answer, but she took a step closer. Cole handed her a handful of grain. "Hold your hand flat, like this." He showed her. The girl hesitated, then copied him. She held her small hand out, palm up, the grain resting in the center. The horse lowered its head and ate gently from her hand. The girl's eyes widened, just a little, but Cole saw it. "Good," he said. "You did good." The girl looked up at him. For the first time, something like trust flickered in her eyes. After that, she helped him with the horses every morning. In the evenings, Cole carved wood by the fire. It was something he had always done, something that kept his hands busy and his mind quiet. He had carved small things for Eleanor once. A comb, a button, a bird with folded wings. Now, he carved nothing in particular, just shapes, just lines. The girl sat across from him, wrapped in her blanket. She watched his hands move over the wood, watched the knife peel away thin curls that fell into the fire and turned to smoke. "You ever carve anything?" Cole asked one night. The girl shook her head. "Want to try?" She looked at him, uncertain. Cole pulled a small piece of soft pine from his pile. He held it out to her along with a smaller knife he kept for detail work. "Careful with the blade," he said. "Always cut away from yourself." The girl took the wood and the knife. She held them awkwardly at first, unsure of what to do. Cole showed her. Slow, patient. He guided her hand with his own, showing her how to press the blade and pull it steady through the grain. The girl tried on her own. The cuts were clumsy. The wood split in places. But she kept going. Cole watched her. There was something in her face now. Something small and fragile. Almost like focus. Almost like hope. "That's it," he said quietly. "You're doing fine." She did not look up, but her hands moved a little more sure. The locket was always there. Even when the girl slept, she held it. Even when she ate, it hung against her chest. Cole saw it every day, every night, the silver catching the firelight. The name engraved on the back, hidden but not forgotten. Eleanor. He wanted to ask. He wanted to know how a little girl came to carry his dead wife's name into the desert. But every time he opened his mouth, the words would not come, because maybe he did not want to know. Maybe knowing would break something in him that was already too broken to fix. So he said nothing, and the girl said nothing, and the locket hung between them like a question neither was ready to answer. One night, Cole woke to the sound of crying. It was soft, almost silent, but he heard it. He sat up and looked across the room. The girl was curled in the corner, her face buried in the blanket. Her small shoulders shook. Cole stood and walked over to her. He knelt down slow, careful not to frighten her. "Hey," he said gently. "It's all right." The girl did not look at him, but her crying grew quieter. Cole did not touch her. He just stayed there, close enough that she would know she was not alone. After a while, her breathing steadied. The tears stopped. Cole stood and went back to his bedroll. He lay down and stared at the ceiling. He thought about Eleanor. He thought about the girl. He thought about the locket and the name that should not have been there. And he wondered if some ghosts were not meant to stay buried. Maybe some came back, not to haunt, but to remind you that the past was not as dead as you wanted it to be. Winter came to the hills like a slow death. The wind turned sharp. The sky turned gray. Snow fell in thin sheets that covered the ground and made the world go quiet. Cole chopped wood until his hands bled. He stacked it high against the cabin wall. He knew what winter meant in these mountains. It meant being trapped. It meant long nights and short days and silence that stretched until it became its own kind of sound. The girl stayed close to the fire now. She wrapped herself in the blanket and watched the flames. Her face had more color than it did when he found her. Her hands were steadier, but she still did not speak. Cole had stopped expecting her to. He moved through the cabin like a ghost himself. He cooked. He cleaned. He carved by the fire while the wind howled outside. The girl watched him, always watching, but never speaking, until one night she did. It was late. The fire had burned low. Cole was adding another log when he heard it. A voice, small and broken. "Mama." Cole froze. The log slipped from his hand and rolled across the floor. He turned slowly. The girl was sitting in her corner, staring at the locket in her hands. Her lips were trembling. Her eyes were wet. "Mama," she said again. Softer this time, like a prayer. Cole's chest tightened. He did not know what to say. He did not know what to do. The girl looked up at him. Tears ran down her cheeks. "She's gone," the girl whispered. Cole knelt down in front of her. His throat felt thick. "I know," he said quietly. "I know she is." The girl's face crumpled. She held the locket against her chest and sobbed. Not loud, not wild, just quiet, broken sounds that came from somewhere deep inside her. Cole reached out slowly. He put his hand on her shoulder. Just a touch. Just enough to let her know she was not alone. The girl leaned into him. She pressed her face against his chest and cried. Cole wrapped his arms around her and held her. He did not say anything. There were no words for this kind of grief. He just held her while the fire cracked and the wind blew cold against the walls. When the crying stopped, the girl pulled back. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. She looked at Cole with something like fear, like she thought he might be angry. But Cole was not angry. "It's all right," he said gently. "You can cry. You can say whatever you need to say." The girl stared at him. Then, slowly, she opened her hand. The locket lay in her palm, the silver dull in the firelight. "She gave it to me," the girl said. Her voice was small and hoarse. "Before she died." Cole looked at the locket, at the name engraved on the back. "Eleanor." "Who was she?" Cole asked. "Your mama." The girl nodded. "Her name was Anna." Cole felt something twist inside him. "Anna," he repeated. The girl nodded again. "She said the lady who gave her the locket was kind. She said she was the best person she ever knew." Cole's hands started to shake. He clenched them in a fist to stop it. "Do you know the name on the locket?" he asked. The girl looked down. "Eleanor," she said softly. "Mama said it every night. She said Eleanor saved her once. A long time ago." Cole closed his eyes. He felt the weight of 7 years pressing down on him. The weight of a life he thought he had buried. "Tell me," he said. His voice was rough. "Tell me about your mama. About Anna." The girl was quiet for a moment. Then she began to speak. Slow. Careful. Like she was picking up pieces of glass. Anna had been young when she met Eleanor. Just 16. She had been working in a town 2 days south of here, cleaning rooms at a boarding house. She had no family. No money. No place to go. Eleanor had been passing through with Cole. They were newly married then, young and hopeful. Eleanor had seen Anna one day, bruised and thin, scrubbing floors in the cold. She had stopped. She had talked to her. And then she had done something no one else had ever done. She had helped. Eleanor had paid the boarding house owner to let Anna go. She had bought her a coat and a meal. She had given her money and directions to a town where a friend might give her work. And before they parted, Eleanor had taken off her locket, the one Cole had given her on their wedding day. She had pressed it into Anna's hand. "Keep this," Eleanor had said, "and remember that you are worth something. You are worth everything." Anna had cried. She had promised she would never forget, and she never did. Years later, Anna had a daughter, a little girl with dark hair and quiet eyes. She named her Rose, after the flower Eleanor had worn in her hair that day. Anna told Rose the story every night, about the woman who had saved her, about the locket, about kindness in a world that had so little of it. And then, one day, Anna got sick. It came fast, fever and coughing and pain that would not stop. There was no doctor, no medicine. Just Anna and Rose in a wagon heading west, trying to find someplace better. Anna died on the road. Rose buried her mother in the dirt beside the trail. She was alone then, just 5 years old. She kept moving west because she did not know what else to do. And then the wagon caught fire. Rose did not know how. Maybe a spark from the campfire. Maybe something else. She ran. She stood in the desert and watched everything burn. And then Cole found her. The girl, Rose, finished speaking and looked up at Cole. Her eyes were red. Her face was pale. Mama said if I ever met Eleanor, I should thank her, Rose said quietly. But I don't know where she is. Cole's throat closed. He could not breathe. He could not speak. Rose watched him, waiting. Finally, Cole found his voice. It was broken, barely there. Eleanor was my wife, he said. Rose's eyes widened. She died 7 years ago, Cole continued. She got sick, just like your mama. I couldn't save her. Rose stared at him. Tears started to fall again. I'm sorry, she whispered. Cole shook his head. You don't have anything to be sorry for. He reached out and took the locket from her hand. He turned it over. He traced the letters of Eleanor's name with his thumb. He had given this to Eleanor on the day they married. He had told her it would keep her safe, that it would remind her she was loved. But it had not kept her safe. She had given it away. She had given it to a girl who needed hope more than she needed silver. And that girl had given it to her daughter. And now that daughter sat in front of him, holding the last piece of Eleanor that still existed in the world. Cole handed the locket back to Rose. You keep this, he said. It's yours. Your mama wanted you to have it. Rose took it carefully. She held it close to her heart. Thank you, she whispered. Cole nodded. He could not speak anymore. His heart was too full, too broken. He stood and walked to the door. He opened it and stepped outside into the cold. The snow was falling steady now. It covered the ground in white. It covered the hills. It covered everything. Cole stood there and let the cold burn his skin. He thought about Eleanor. He thought about Anna. He thought about Rose. 3 lives tangled together by a single act of kindness. A thread stretched across years and miles and death. He did not know what it meant. He did not know if it meant anything at all. But he knew one thing. He could not let Rose go. Not now. Not after learning the truth. She was all that was left of Eleanor's kindness. All that was left of the woman he had loved. And maybe, just maybe, she was his chance to carry that kindness forward. The snow melted slowly. It took weeks. The white turned to gray, then to mud, then to green. The hills woke up. Grass pushed through the earth. Flowers opened in places Cole had forgotten they grew. The air turned warm. The creek ran fast and cold with water from the high places. Spring had come. Cole stood outside the cabin one morning and watched the sun rise over the ridge. The light was soft and golden. It touched everything. The trees, the rocks, the roof of the cabin. It made the world look new. Rose came to stand beside him. She did not say anything. She just stood there, her hand resting on the locket at her chest. Cole looked down at her. She was taller now, stronger. Her face had filled out. Her eyes were not so empty anymore. You sleep all right? He asked. Rose nodded. Good, Cole said. He looked back at the sunrise. I was thinking we might do something today. Rose looked up at him, curious. I was thinking we might plant a garden, Cole said. Eleanor had always wanted a garden. She had talked about it all the time. Tomatoes and carrots and beans. Flowers along the edge. A place where things could grow. But they had never done it. There had always been something else. Something more important. And then Eleanor was gone, and Cole had not seen the point anymore. But now he did. He did not know why. Maybe it was the spring. Maybe it was Rose. Maybe it was the way the locket caught the light and reminded him that some things were worth keeping alive. He walked Rose to the patch of earth behind the cabin. The ground was soft from the melt. It smelled like rain and soil and life. This is a good spot, Cole said. Get sun most of the day. Soil's not too rocky. Rose looked at the ground. Then she looked at him. What do we do? She asked. Her voice was still quiet, but it was steadier now. We dig, Cole said. We turn the soil. We plant seeds. We wait. Rose nodded. Cole fetched a shovel from the shed. He showed Rose how to push it into the earth and turn it over. She tried. The shovel was too big for her, but she did not give up. She pushed and pulled and dug until her hands were dirty and her face was flushed. Cole worked beside her. They did not talk much. They did not need to. The work said everything. By midday, they had turned a small patch of ground. Cole brought out the seeds he had been saving. Beans and squash and a few carrots. Not much, but enough. He showed Rose how to make a line in the soil with her finger, how to drop the seeds in, how to cover them gently and pat the earth down. Now we water them, Cole said. They carried buckets from a creek. Rose poured the water carefully, her tongue between her teeth in concentration. The soil darkened. The seeds disappeared beneath the surface. How long until they grow? Rose asked. A while, Cole said. A few weeks. Maybe more. Depends on the weather. Rose looked at the patch of wet earth. Will they really come up? Cole nodded. If we take care of them. If we give them water and time. Yeah, they'll come up. Rose smiled. Just a little. Just the corners of her mouth turning up. It was the first time Cole had seen her smile. The days grew longer. Cole and Rose fell into a rhythm. They woke early. They fed the horses. They checked the garden. They cooked together. They sat by the fire in the evenings while Cole carved and Rose practiced her letters on a piece of slate he had found in the shed. Eleanor had taught him to read and write when they were young. He had never been good at it, but he knew enough to teach Rose. She learned fast. Her hand was clumsy at first, but she kept trying. She wrote her name over and over until the letters looked right. Then she wrote her mother's name, Anna, then Eleanor. Cole watched her. He did not say anything, but something in his chest loosened. One evening, Rose set down the slate and looked at him. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure, Cole said. Why did you keep me? Cole stopped carving. He looked at her. What do you mean? You could have left me, Rose said. You could have taken me to a town, left me with someone else. Cole was quiet for a long time. He turned the piece of wood over in his hands. I thought about it, he said finally. At first, I thought it would be easier. Why didn't you? Cole looked at the fire. Because of the locket, he said. Because of your mama. Because of Eleanor. He paused. Because I didn't want to be the kind of man who walks away. Rose stared at him. Her eyes were bright. I'm glad you didn't, she said softly. Cole nodded. Me too. The garden grew. It started small, just tiny green shoots pushing through the soil. But every day, there was more. The beans climbed. The squash spread wide leaves. The carrots hid beneath the ground, growing in secret. Rose checked on them every morning. She pulled weeds. She carried water. She knelt in the dirt and touched the leaves gently, like they were something precious. Cole watched her. He saw the way she cared for the garden, the way she smiled when a new sprout appeared, the way she talked to the plants sometimes, soft words he could not hear. She was healing, and so was he. One afternoon, Cole was fixing the fence when Rose came running up to him. Her face was flushed. Her eyes were wide. Cole, she said, come look. He followed her to the garden. She pointed at one of the bean plants. Look, she said. There, hanging from the vine, was a single bean, small and green and perfect. We did it, Rose said. She looked up at him, her face full of wonder. We grew something. Cole knelt down beside her. He looked at the bean. Then he looked at Rose. Yeah, he said quietly. We did. Rose reached out and touched the bean gently. Then she looked at Cole. Can we plant more next year? She asked. Cole's throat tightened. Yeah, he said. We can plant more. Rose smiled. Not a small smile this time. A real one, wide and bright and full of hope. Cole felt something break open inside him, something he had kept locked away for 7 years. He put his hand on Rose's shoulder. You did good, he said. Real good. Rose leaned into him. Just a little. Just enough. That night, Cole lay in his bedroll and stared at the ceiling. He thought about Eleanor. He thought about Anna. He thought about the locket and the garden and the little girl sleeping in the corner with her hand wrapped around the silver chain. For 7 years, he had carried his grief like a stone. He had let it weigh him down. He had let it turn him into something cold and empty. But Rose had changed that. She had not tried to. She had not asked to. She had just been there. Small and broken and lost. And somehow, in taking care of her, he had started to take care of himself. The locket still hung around her neck. It always would, but did not mean the same thing anymore. It was not just a reminder of the dead. It was a promise to the living. Eleanor's kindness had saved Anna. Anna's love had saved Rose. And Rose, without knowing it, had saved Cole. That was what the locket meant now. Not an ending. A beginning. Cole closed his eyes. For the first time in 7 years, he did not dream of graves. He dreamed of gardens, of green things growing, of a little girl with dirt on her hands and hope in her eyes. He dreamed of spring, and when he woke in the morning, Rose was already outside, checking the garden. The sun was rising. The world was warm. The locket caught the light and shone like a promise kept. Cole stepped outside and stood beside her. He did not say anything. He did not need to. Some things did not need words. Some things were held in the soil and the silence and the slow, steady turning of seasons. Some things were carried in the heart. And that was enough.